Good afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday, October the 29th. And as you can see, there's a lot of energy out here in the air. And today was scheduled to be the Perihelion of Three-Eye Atlas. And you can see the effect that it's having on everything. When I woke up this morning, once I finally wiped the cobwebs out of my eyes, what I felt was a pretty distinctive feeling. If I could sum up the feeling that I've been feeling today into just one word, that word would probably be convergence, or maybe even singularity, because all of a sudden I feel this sense of connectedness, this feeling that everything is connected. You know how you go through life and sometimes it seems like everything that you do or everything that you've done has just been a series of really random events, random choices. Sometimes you don't know why you worked at this place or met this person or picked up this hobby, or just a long string of random events, it seems like. But then sometimes you reach a point where an opportunity comes up that helps you to understand that there was a rhyme and reason or a purpose to everything. Well, today I felt that feeling stronger than I've ever felt before. This feeling of convergence, that all the paths converged on this one moment, this one day, right here. Like everything that I've done in my life, all of a sudden it all makes sense. And this is something that's reverberating all through the collective, all over the world today. The entire collective is going to be feeling this. There's something that's going to be happening in every situation, in every person's life, where you're going to realize why and what. You're going to see that everything led up to this one moment right here. You're going to understand what it was all for. This energetic battle that we've been facing on our planet, the reason for this energetic warfare, it has to do with creation. What they're afraid of is creation. Your ability to create is what they're afraid of. So anything they can do to stunt your creativity, stop your creativity, putting obstacles in your way or tainting the energy, so many different ways of doing that too. What this energetic warfare is all about is to sabotage your creative ability, whether it's through tainting your environment, tainting your relationships, tainting your energy. And that can be done through your entertainment and through your food and your habits. If you've noticed, there's been a very strong push to widen profit margins by literally taking the value out of everything, creating food that's full of flavor, like over-seasoned food but no nutrition, but it's still expensive. Also, replacing all the artists with AI. It's taking the soul out of the art. It's taking the music out of the music. Just look at the sun. Look at that. Look at the sun. That is light. All the colors that you see and that light, that is light. That's not LED. That is full spectrum light. That is truth. That is real information. It's not just data, it's structured data. When you structure data, you get information, and this is useful information. In the sunlight, there's been a desperate push to distract you so much and addict you so much that you don't spend time outside in this full spectrum light. And the information contained in this light is what causes you to evolve, to grow, to adapt to this increasing frequency that we have on our planet. And once you do that, it manifests as joy and happiness and creativity, purpose. It's all about purpose. The entire goal of this energetic warfare is to keep you from discovering your purpose. Our purpose on this planet is to create art. Yes, goods and services, but all of these goods and services are art. And this art comes from the reconciliation of your emotions and your intuition. When you take the time to really observe and feel and listen, you're presented with new information. And this new information, sometimes it challenges your current beliefs and your current feelings. But when you take that opportunity to sit with it and meditate on it, that whole process of reconciling this new information against your intuition, against your emotions, once you reconcile that and solve that cognitive dissonance, you grow and you gain an appreciation. Appreciation is an increase in value. When you find more appreciation in your life, it increases your value. And anytime you perceive more value in your life, in your environment, in your food, in your music, in your friendships, your relationships, anytime you perceive an increase in value, it adds more joy to your life and purpose to your life. And that is what is so threatening to them. Because if you find joy and purpose in your life, if you are able to find joy and purpose in your life in such a way that you can create things that are unique, if each person can find joy and happiness in their life from this sunlight, from this water, from this air that's available to everyone, when each person is able to discover their unique purpose out of this light that's available, this air, this water that's available to everyone, what that does is it makes it possible for each person to create something unique. Each person has the ability and the capacity to create something that's completely unique. And when each person can create something that's valuable to the entire collective, what that does is you don't rely on these big businesses, these big organizations that want to have a monopoly. They're artificially increasing the value of the things that they create by creating scarcity, because they don't want you to know that you have the ability to create value on your own, just by sitting in the light, just by appreciating the light and the air and the water and the animals and the plants, the food and each other. You don't have to rely on these cheap, fake, shallow products and services, fake promises, lies that they have to offer. You won't need it. And that's why they're investing so much time and money in distracting you. Because the sun is increasing its power right now, which means that there's more. Now there's more of this full spectrum light available for you to absorb and for you to learn by challenging your existing beliefs and learning how to reconcile this new light, this new information against your emotions and your intuition. And once you do that, you receive appreciation, more value. And with that, it translates into art. It makes it possible for you to create art. Art that raises the frequency, raises the collective consciousness of humanity. There's something really important that I wanted to share. About a week ago, I received a vision right before I woke up, and there weren't a whole lot of details to this vision, but it was unforgettable because at one moment I was just going about my day, maybe sitting in the house and playing checkers or, playing cards, or, I was just doing something random. I can't remember what I was doing that was random. It could have been anything. I could have been washing dishes or mowing the yard or reading a book or meditating or whatever. One moment it was just the normal reality, and then the next moment, like a fraction of a second, it was I can't even say that it was loud, but it was like a huge boom, like it felt like an explosion. All I know is that one moment I was just like this, and the next moment I was energy. I went from being in the physical to being in energy, but I actually remember the transition, and it was as if reality, all of a sudden, we went through some sort of it was like a warp in reality where it's so hard to describe. It's extremely hard to describe. And it was so unnerving that I literally screamed. I woke up screaming because the sensation was more than anyone could prepare for. It was instant. I mean, it was even more instant than instant. One moment I was just like you see me sitting here on the porch. One moment it was like this, and then the next fraction of a moment, everything was vibrating so hard. It was so fast, vibrating so hard, it was almost as if I was being sucked through a wormhole, like 1,000,000 miles an hour at least. And it was as if I was experiencing changing phase from solid to ether in a millionth of a second. And it had the force of the most violent explosion that you could ever imagine. But there was no sound. There was no sound. There was no boom. It was like I was the I was the boom. I was the energy. There was no sound, just vibration. The vibration was so intense that I remember feeling myself go from solid to energy in a millionth of a second. And I'm using numbers like million because it was really that fast. And there was no time to scream. There was no time to scream. Because in that moment it was so this dream was about what's happening right now. It's about what's about to happen to our reality right now. Everything that we're witnessing it's been speeding up. The earth has been quaking. There's been severe weather that's just been getting more and more intense. And everything has just been intensifying. And this vision that I had, it describes it could happen any moment. It could happen any moment, and it's going to be like a twinkling of an eye. So I remember having that vision, and then a couple days later, I was reading something, like something came across my Facebook feed, and it was talking about how scientists have learned how to artificially create black holes. So the way that the physicists explained it is that once you exceed a certain decibel level, that reality will collapse into a black hole. So it's theoretically possible to create a black hole just by making a loud enough noise. Once you exceed a certain decibel level, reality will collapse into a black hole. And I remembered that a couple days ago. All of a sudden I remembered that fact, and then I remembered that I had had that vision. In that vision, it was like one moment I was maybe sitting at the table playing cards or checkers or piano or what have you, and then the next split second, reality was vibrating so hard that I literally experienced a phase change from solid to energy. It was so fast, it was so intense that all I felt was the most extreme vibration. It was as if reality started shaking so hard that everything just instantly vaporized. Everything. And you would think that there would have been a noise, but I didn't actually hear a sound at all. It was as if I was the sound. The feeling was the noise. If I knew what an atomic bomb felt like, it was as if I was the energy of an atomic bomb. That's what it felt like. And I knew. I woke up crying. I remember it was so intense, I screamed. And when I woke up, I was crying for a little while because it was so intense. Because I was trying to make sense of everything that I had just experienced. It was about the future. It was about what's going to be happening on our planet very soon. And you just heard that, an acorn hit. All the badness that's been just getting worse and worse is about to come to a sudden stop. It's going to be instant. It's going to be intense, where everything's going to be vibrating so violently that the world, the system as we know it, is going to instantly be something new. Everything's going to be completely new, and it's going to happen instantly. So today is the Perihelion of 3i Atlas, and there's a lot of speculation about what's going to happen, and nobody knows exactly how it's going to happen, but something is about to happen. And the Holy Spirit told me that we're all going to be sorted according to our vibration. But we know that all things work out for the good of those who are serving in their purpose. So you will find joy. Find joy now. Find joy and happiness now by doing what it is that you were created to do, and you know what it is. Sometimes we avoid it because sometimes we're afraid to be happy. The world has taught so many people to be afraid of happiness, to be afraid to pursue what it is that really fulfills them, because the world convinces people to see things only materially, economically. But this system is about to pass away. This system as we know it is about to pass away. This is not the time to be investing anymore in any of these empty promises, because what Jehovah has promised us, everything that you've lost, everything that's been taken from you, any ways that you've been hurt, you're going to be completely healed. You're going to be completely made whole. Many, many, many times over again. So that's something to feel hopeful for. If there's anything that I can really take from the experience that I had in that vision, is that it's going to happen so quickly. It's really nothing to be worried about. Boom, did you hear that? It's going to happen so quickly, there's really nothing to be worried about. So take the time right now to appreciate everything that you have. Thank Jehovah for another day to experience this full spectrum light that we have. Isn't it beautiful? And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.